against the Suppression of Communist Act, against the Bantu Education Act, against the Bantu Authorities Act, and the list goes on and on. But again, because women were never inferior, it was the women of this country, both black and white, who produced the Women's Charter in 1954. So when the men produced the Freedom Charter, they had learned from the women. And who says that the women are inferior to men? And who taught men that when you are carried in the belly of a woman for 9 months, you are born, you can't speak, you can't eat, you can't talk, you are brought up. When you start to talk, the first insult is against your mother, and you say you are civilized. 1956 to 1961, when our people were facing treason trial, it is the women who carried the baton. It is the women who said, "Watinta bafazi, watinta mbogo," which means that bafazi bebayikhona emzabalazweni. Yonke all the time. Emzabalazweni bebayikhona emzabalazweni. Now,
What I tell you.
1958, the first Pan-African conference was held in Ghana. And when it was held, Nkrumah said that Ghana will not be free unless the rest of Africa was free. So Ghana, Nkrumah was a real Pan-Africanist. And he threw terror in the hearts of Macmillan, a British Prime Minister, who gave a speech in Cape Town called The Winds of Change. The result was the British decided to give their colonies independence. Although the British did not have a Bill of Rights, they decided to give Africans bills of rights. What was the purpose of the Bill of Rights? To entrench property rights and land in the hands of the white minority on the continent. And that's why Mugabe died a disappointed man. And that's why the people of Zimbabwe are poor. They come to South Africa. That poverty was created by the Bill of Rights that the British issued at Lancaster House. The people of Kenya are suffering because of the Bill of Rights given by the British. Now, Mandela said, there comes a time when we cannot submit but fight.
Yes.
He was a top lawyer with Joe Slovo, with Tambo. They sentenced him to 27 years. And he said, he will fight domination by white or by black, and he was prepared to die for his beliefs. And he did not die. And but Mandela knew that without organization, there can be no freedom. And that's why the ANC ensured that there is organization. And organization was by young people. In the 70s, at the University of the North, it was Cyril Ramaphosa, Aubrey Mukwena, Pandela Nenefolobondwe, Umkhubutse Tiro, and other youth in other parts of the country who said that education or no education, the struggle must continue. And those young people made sure that all students, except those who were born reactionaries, must be activists, like the president was saying, that we must be activists as young people, not just good lawyers. Good activists, lawyers must all be. Now, in Soweto, what happened was Hector Peterson, Mashinini, and others said we cannot impose Africans on us. They resisted. Now Hector Peterson was killed. 1977, all the newspapers were closed down, and then Steve Biko was killed, not because he committed any offense, because he was capable of thinking, but because our people knew that they were not cast, they were not born to serve anybody. They formed organizations. At the beginning of the 80s, mass democratic organizations mass boomed everywhere. And that's why in 1983, the United Democratic Front was formed. In 1985, COSATU was formed. And that's why O.R. Tambo was able to address the country and say, make the country ungovernable. And then in 1985, after the Kabwe conference, Tambo established the Department of Constitutional and Legal Affairs and appointed Jack Simon to head it, and later Comrade Dr. Zola Square, and I was fortunate to be deployed to work under Comrade Zola Square, who is an unsung hero. Nothing is named after him. Even institutions that he started are named after other people, so that they can justify the fact that Africans have not started anything. Even the question of the Constitutional Assembly was developed by Zola Square, myself, Penuel Maduna, and Linda, and then we recommended to Tambo that don't announce it, give it to Desmond Tutu to announce it, because they will listen to him because he's a priest. So the Constituent Assembly was born in the mind of Comrade Zola Square. And if there's no building that can be named after him, then I think there's something wrong, or we don't know where we come from. Now, at the University of Pretoria, there is a Center for Human Rights. A man called Professor Johan van der Westhuizen came to me and said he wanted to meet with the leadership in Lusaka. I arranged. So that Center for Human Rights at the University of Pretoria is the creation of Dr. Zola Square. Maybe it must be renamed as soon as possible.
Yes.
And then in 1986, on the 1st of May, there was a conference called on Human and People's Rights, because the liberal lawyers thought we were stupid. They said South Africa needs a bill of human and group rights. And the purpose of group rights was to sugarcoat the Bantustan and the tricameral system. And with the young people again, like Jackie Malachi, Masanabo, we established an anti-Bill of Rights committee and opposed that. And we were with people like Museneke, we opposed that. And then the ANC was told by some people that there are young people who are opposed to Bill of Rights. And I was summoned to Lusaka. I met Comrade JZ and Joan Nene, Joan Tata, from the ANC security in a township at 1 o'clock at night. They say, explain, why are you against the Bill of Rights? And after I had explained, they said, you are the person who must go and work with Zola Square in the Department of Constitutional and Legal Affairs. And that's how I became a member of that committee. And then 1986, we mobilized the law student councils in the whole country. And with J.B. Sibanyoni, Jonas Sibanyoni, we said that we established an organization called Democratic Lawyers Congress. We said no lawyer shall be free unless Mandela is free. And other democratic lawyers were established. And the ANC under Tambo also said, why don't you put all these lawyers' congresses together and form NADEL? So NADEL was also the brainchild of O.R. Tambo, not of some of us who are its leaders now. And now, 1987, the ANC produced a statement on negotiations. And that statement on negotiations was driven by law student councils like yourselves. 1987, we went to Arusha. In Arusha, some professors were saying that the apartheid government was legal. We said it is illegal and illegitimate because it's not based on the will of the people. And then we managed to convince even the United Nations to say the apartheid government was both illegal and illegitimate. Then from there, we moved on to the constitutional guidelines for a democratic South Africa, and then from there to the Harare Declaration. In other words, the constitutional democracy that we have, the Bill of Rights that we have, are a product of struggle. And therefore, the challenge that one wants to live with is that you have to deepen that struggle of the African people. And there are no other people who are better equipped than yourself to carry on that struggle. But let me, before I finish, say, I heard that you are, and I don't mean to offend you, that you are teaching street law. Some of us became unpopular because we said, Tambo said what the chairperson was saying here, that you must deal with societal issues. Our people are not street men and women. So the law that they want is not street law because they are not street children. We want public interest law. That's why here in Pretoria you'll see a building that we established with J.B. Sibanyoni called National Institute for Public Interest Law and Research. So public interest law means is the law that advances the interests of the people, not street children and women. So I want to appeal to you to revisit this concept of street law, because you will be actually be sabotaging the gains of our struggle. The best black lawyers now in the country, advocates Minya, Malega, Mathole Motshega, Vilagazi, were produced by a legal advice center that I established in Mamelodi. These are the lawyers who establish the presidency in this country. The judge president of Gauteng, Mlambo, Justice Mlambo, was a young boy, but now he's retired. I say, you are irresponsible. How can you retire before me? Because he came to Tembisa Legal Services Center, and when he saw me at work, he decided to study law, and he's one of the finest legal brains that South Africa has produced. So I think, comrades, you are on the right course. You are led by capable men and women. But what frustrates me is one thing. The Legal Practice Council Act is actually not a progressive act. It preserves Bantustan elements, and it is preserving a quota system. Why some of us, when we opposed it, they decided to remove us from the justice system. And then we didn't mind, because when we were in struggle, we didn't even know that there would be a chair for a justice committee and so on. So whether you remove me or not, I don't care. But I think you, as the students, you must go through that act and find out whether that act is actually advancing the revolution. Lastly, when some of us studied law at Unisa, Afrikaans was compulsory, English was compulsory, Latin was compulsory. You would not get a B Juris without getting those. Why do we have 11 indigenous languages? People are able to get law degrees without passing one indigenous African law. That's why in Limpopo, a man goes to court and say, I want to divorce because my wife denies me the blankets. And then he was thrown out of court. They say, go and buy other blankets because they don't understand the language. So you cannot be a good lawyer for African people unless you understand their people. So I think you must insist that some of the departments, like Department of Portuguese, Greek, and all these European languages, let them go, those who want to study those languages, let them go back to Europe and study there. Our languages must be established. The departments of indigenous languages have been closed, but the departments of Portuguese, pardon?
Even Afrikaans.
Yeah, maybe Afrikaans, because you see, the colored people are an indigenous people.
Yes.
And yes, but we can debate that. Yeah, they don't have another language except Afrikaans. So I think let's debate that at another time. But some of these departments must go. Indigenous African languages must be taught. And we must congratulate our leadership for saying, for a start, Swahili must be taught in the subcontinent, because Swahili is also an official language of the OAU, so that we can communicate in a common African language. And I think that that is a step in the right direction. But today I know you are tired. You are tired. We have one crisis. You want to enjoy yourself. That's why I hurried over things. But I want to ask the leadership to make me your friend.
Yes.
Because I am an alumni of Unisa.
Correct.
But the lawyer, the one thing that I want to do, I address the students at the University of the North, the University of Venda. Yesterday, I addressed the students at Vets University. I said that it would not be correct for us to amend the Constitution without your participation.
Yes.
It won't be correct to amend the Constitution without your participation. So I want to suggest that you set a national team which is representative of all the law students throughout the country, and I will make sure that we invite you to Parliament so that you can bring fresh ideas, so that when we amend the Constitution, you will be able to say, Natis Besiko na imzaula zwini. Thank you very much.
You can sit here. You can sit here.